Well, we did quite a bit of touring for Straight to the Dome. The album got great reviews for us, so we had some really good touring opportunities. And once we got home from our schedule, we decided to take a little bit of time off, for ourselves and for our families. And then once the opportunity arose, we began the writing process for the new material. So it took about, I think, 2 months worth of writing. And then we found ourselves in the studio once again in August of this year. And it was a 10-day process. And here we are promoting The Final Revolution. I like it. I still like it a lot. I think it has great energy. It's a bit more thrash oriented, and our two guitar players, Adam Phillips and Marshall Stevens, had a lot to do with the songwriting process. So it was a very unique Propane album, and when it came to writing the follow up, we wanted to sort of feed off of the energy of Straight to the Dome, but we wanted to make it a little bit different also. So we had to really think hard about what we wanted the new album to sound like. And the question became, how do we make it unique in a catalog of so many records and in a span of so many years? And I think we did a really good job with it, and so far the reviews have been great, so I'm very encouraged by it. I think so too. I think they're a bit darker. I think they're a bit heavier. They're the tempos have slowed to some degree, and speaking for the album as a whole. And it's a bit groovier, and I think a lot. That's what I'm hearing from a lot of journalists so far, is that they really like the groove on the new record. My songwriting style is a little bit different, than the other guys. They tend to write riffs which are a little bit busier, but I think there's a lot of that stuff out there right now. I think the metal world in particular is saturated with busy music, and I don't think really Propane has a place there. I think Propane should stand out, and we should bring forward the things which we do best, and which is a very sort of sound song structure, solid arrangements, catchy songs with a great backbeat, and delivered with a certain sense of urgency. And on this album, I think we nailed it. At first, I thought of it, and I thought, well, I'm sure this has been taken, many times, but oddly enough, it hasn't. It hadn't been. So I presented it to the rest of the guys. They thought it was very, very fitting for Propane, for an album of ours in 2013. I think we're living in revolutionary times, and we're seeing a lot of change taking place before our eyes on a very very fast sort of paced way. And there's a lot of discontent out there, and it's on a global scale. I think a lot of it has to do with the global financial crisis. We're not coming out of this, and things seem to be getting worse. And it's creating an atmosphere which is ripe for revolution. And I'm speaking for a lot of different countries. There's a lot of unrest, and people are just having a very hard time getting by, and they're seeing their lifestyles become decimated at the hands of their government. And so, these are great times for Propane lyrics. What can I say? Oh, Adam is great. He is very much a perfectionist. Um, he is one of the most talented musicians that I've had the pleasure of working with, and he's a multi-instrumentalist. So, he can also play reed instruments, wind instruments. He can pretty much play any instrument that he picks up, which is really awesome. And he's been very instrumental in producing our albums too. So he kind of co-produced the last two records. So I'm continuously impressed by him, and he's also a great guy. So we get along extremely well, and yeah. So he's been a big asset to Propane since Tom Glinchuk unfortunately left the band a couple of years ago. Yeah, we emailed each other probably about 3 weeks ago, and he opened up a studio in Florida, and I believe it's in either Venice or Northport. It's about 40 minutes south of where I live, and I know of one band that's recorded with him, and so he's doing well. He's back to good health. He doesn't have any aspirations on the touring front, or I don't think he has plans to, rejoin a band. But he's staying very active in the music business by being a producer and engineer and running his studio. So I think it's great. Well, I think most things tend to come full circle because the press tends to create the trends, but then when the trends sort of get worn out, they look to sort of blow the dust off a prior trend and put a new face on it. And I think that's sort of the methodology that we see, which plays itself out over and over and over again. So I think that the old school style or the old school brand of hardcore will certainly resurface itself in a more widely accepted way, but I think it might be branded a little bit differently, and I say so just because of what I've observed by way of the press for a very long time. Well, let's see. The album opens up with a track called Death Wish, and the lyrics are very straightforward. It's about knowing who your enemy is and never underestimating your opponent. And we're currently wrapping up the video for that song as well. It involves certain military characters, which ties itself into the whole Final Revolution concept. And yeah, it's coming out great. Can't wait to see the final edits. But back to the lyrics. It's followed up by a song called One Shot, One Kill. And lyrically, it's about seizing the moment, taking chances, and realizing that in life, sometimes you get one chance. And so make sure that you take full advantage and make it a bullseye. So, and I thought One Shot, One Kill was sort of a play on words with regard to that theme. So, Propane is a band that's had a lot of sort of double meanings to things, and titles which could be perceived as being something different from what it really is. And I think that's cool because it makes people think a little bit more. So let's see, Southbound. It's a song about inhibition. It's a song about moving forward without hesitation. It's about living for today and tomorrow, not yesterday, and not being so much a product of your environment. As the cliche goes, I only think that that's true to a certain extent. I think that our makeup as a human being comes mostly from within, and people shouldn't be afraid to take chances in life because the greatest people throughout history have taken their fair share of chances. The next song is called Problem, Reaction, Solution. It's one of our more political songs, and it's about the powers that be who are said to create a lot of problems for people and society and use the media to get the desired reaction, and then to only politically offer up the solution to everybody. But it's never in the best interest of the people. It's always some sort of despotic reaction that we have to take because they have to come up with solutions to these things, which, if you dig very deep, they are created by the very same group of people. The Final Revolution is a song which sort of encapsulates what I said earlier, in that, you know, we're living in these revolutionary times. In my opinion, anyway, there's worldwide discontent with government in general. People are connecting and gathering in numbers never seen before via the internet and social media. And you know, history will only repeat if the public at large remains ignorant and in the dark. And an awakened populace, which is what we're seeing at large via the internet, an awakened populace can do great things. So we have the power within our hands. It's just we're figuring out collectively now how to use it and the best route that we could all take forward for positive change. The next song is called Can't Stop the Pain. It's a simple song about the power of perseverance, believing in something, whatever that something may be, and having the guts to fight for it. Those are just some of the songs, but you can get an overall vibe on the lyrical content of the album. It ranges from things which are very personal and dear to me to things which are which have a social and political conscience. Well, my best moments in my career are not very self-indulgent. The best moments for me are getting positive feedback from fans, meeting new fans and friends along the way, and just kind of sitting back in awe at the amount of support that we get from so many people that not only get the band's message, but really take the band to heart and, you know, have come and supported us so many times, in some cases upwards of 50 times. That is my main motivation for continuing at this stage of the game. And we don't take any of it for granted. I love the being able to travel to so many cool places in the world and not see the world through the eyes of like a tourist, but really seeing the culture in a lot of cool places for what it is, and to see things through, from our perspective is such a unique opportunity, I mean, that is like one of the general highlights of my career. I couldn't imagine being this fulfilled by doing something else. I really couldn't. Well, there are a lot of worst moments also. You know, with all the ups comes some downs. I guess that's part of life, and I guess you know, some specifics are buses breaking down, buses catching on fire, tours getting canceled due to no fault of our own, things which generally just completely suck the morale out of the band. And, you know, lineup changes are always very difficult, and things which make it very difficult to move on and those are the things that are really the lowlights of the career that you wish you never had, but we're experienced enough to know that it's all part of the game. And we have to be able to endure those things, in order to see and to witness the better times which are ahead of us. Well, I'm glad you said that because at least someone is imagining them. uh, I don't know. I think that as the band moves on, and the more years that we put behind us, the less distance we see in front of us. Not because we're negative or we think that we're going to hold the band anytime soon. It's just that we have more immediate goals that we focus on. Getting older with in playing in such a genre is not the easiest thing, especially as a performer, because there are times when you feel your age up there on stage, and it can be sometimes very trying when you're expected to put on an hour and a half or an hour and 40 show every night of the week, every day of the tour. And so any band which has been together for as long as we have, or even 10 years, I mean, I really tip my hat to those bands, and I really have a lot of respect for bands like that, because I know what it takes to keep a band together for so long and to go through all of the ups and downs, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. It can be very difficult at times, and so those bands which have persevered through all of those different stages and have kept it going year after year, they certainly have my respect.